Today I'm with Zhann Jochinke, who is the CEO of Property Monitor, one of the leading data companies in Dubai. Welcome, Zhann.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to look at everything you need to know in the data of Dubai property market. Give me a little snapshot of 2023 for you.
12 months ago, this is not what I forecast to happen. Didn't expect to see all the records break month after month after month. Got sick of saying there's a new record.
We're going to look at population growth versus properties handed over.
Say 50,000 handovers. Population growth last year for the 12 months, 104,000.
We're going to look at branded residences and what that looks like. When you talk about these branded residences, I've seen some crazy ones. No one's going to be living there at that level. We're going to look at the future of the Dubai property market.
So you're going to see a little bit of downward pressure both on sales and rents.
And all relevant information you need to know to keep your finger on the pulse of the Dubai property market. Today, we are here with Zhann Jochinke, who is the CEO of Property Monitor, and we're going to talk about data, the Dubai property market, how that looks, his forecast, and anything we need to look for in 2024. Welcome, Zhann.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
So it's the 17th today. So 17th is my daughter's birthday. Are we still allowed to say Happy New Year on the 17th?
Yeah, mate, why not? If you haven't seen someone during the year already, then no problem.
It's got to be a cut-off. It's got to be a cut-off.
We're getting pretty close.
We're near getting to Easter. We've got Valentine's coming up. There's a lot of...
Oh, mate, I wish you an early Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, so we've got some talking points on today's property market. So I'm obviously very happy to have Zhann on. Zhann is probably one of the leading voices in Dubai real estate. I think me and you battle a lot for column inches. We call it, column inches and share a voice in the market. So Zhann has got an incredible background. I've actually sat on many panels with Zhann or listened to you talk about the Dubai property market. So very, very happy to be a well-established member of the real estate market on our podcast.
Again, lovely to be here.
2023.
Wasn't bad, was it?
I'm not going to complain, to be honest with you. What's your take on 2023? Is in numbers, any highlight numbers that you should look at? Why we are where we are? Give me a little snapshot of 2023 for you.
I mean, why we are is the hard part. Right? Okay. 12 months ago wasn't my call. This is not what I forecast to happen. I forecast that we'd be looking at probably high single-digit growth. Transactions starting to moderate out. The off-plan market to sort of take the lead, but not in the way that it did. Launches start to moderate. Prices to uptick, but just not so much the way they have. Didn't expect to see all the records break month after month after month. Got sick of saying there's a new record.
I don't even say on LinkedIn anymore, like, we've had a record month. I used to say it all the time, but now I'm like, everybody's having a record month, so me saying that is no good to anybody.
Yeah. It's really tough to explain it, and Dubai was on a good trajectory coming out of COVID, right?
Yeah.
We had a tremendous recovery. It just kept on going and going while the rest of the world pretty much went through struggles, right? We're only now starting to get into the early phases of their recovery. Look, we're always benefits from regional conflicts, right? Yeah. We're the net beneficiary for the most part.
Is that because of the location, do you think?
Part of it, right? Yeah. We're 8 hours from 80% of the planet,
yeah.
Right? Location, but it's also the government's done so much to drive growth here, right? This is not, we're 20 years old, 25 years old. And
we're not. We're definitely not.
Almost double that soon. But they've done so much to grow it in that short period of time. And Dubai's long-term success or viability is driven on that, right? They need population to keep growing. They need things to drive population here. I came over 10 years ago and talking about long-term residency, no. Citizenship, never. Yeah. Right? All these things which they weren't going to happen. Yeah. And slowly they've changed.
You know, they get passports now as well if you're selected, but they're actually giving UAE passports.
Really? I did not know that.
So you've got to be, it's a bit like when they did the golden visa at the start. It is for highly talented, which means not me.
Yeah, I'm probably out.
We're good at column inches and data. Do you have any visas for that? But yeah, there's so much change in that. I mean, I remember when I first come here, people would panic about, are they going to pass their blood test? And we used to get the X-ray on the chest, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get rejected. And I think now it's such a welcoming city, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just, I came here from the US, originally from Australia, spent 10 years in the US, and coming here, everyone thought that it's like Saudi.
Yeah.
And that comparison isn't even true anymore.
No,
the city's evolved and changed so much. It is this oasis in the desert that has so much going for it and just keeps going. I mean, I'm very bullish on Dubai.
Yeah.
May not be as bullish on the real estate market in the coming years, though.
Yeah. Okay, let's dig into that then. So obviously, about 2023, it's been amazing. Why are you not bullish? Are you saying you could forecast a downturn, or you slow down, or what do you see?
I would say a gentle tapering.
Okay.
Potentially. Not a big bust. I don't think we're in bubble territory. I think that prices have moderated. Things are going in a good direction. Supply is where my concern starts. Right? We're not experiencing oversupply right now. We could, in the near future, launches are going break.
Have you got data on that? Do you have any idea how many handovers 2023 was, approximately?
We're still wrapping up now. I think it's about 35,000.
And there's over 100,000 people that come here.
Yeah, so let's go on this and break down the numbers.
Yeah.
We've had last year new launches, about 100,000 units, residential units, came to market for sale. They're going to be handed over in the next 3 to 5 years.
Let's call it 2027 realistically.
Yeah, but they're still coming, right? We're tracking another 150 projects in the planning and pre-launch phase. That's probably another 35 plus thousand units that will come on in Q1, Q2. So expect another 100,000 units coming on. That 100,000 units will be staggered in how it delivers. This year, deliveries from previous launches, it's going to be a big range. You'll say 40 to 60,000. Let's just say it's in the middle of 50.
Let's call it 50. That's why I told everybody 50, so we're on the money.
You must be right then.
You must be.
So say 50,000 handovers. Population growth last year for the 12 months, 104,000.
Wild.
All right, 104,000, 3% growth rate, just a little bit below that for the year. Average household size is probably the more important metric. Okay. So I ran my numbers, and a good friend, Dr. Michael Walters, who you probably know as well, didn't know, he was also doing the same thing, ran it independently, and we came up with roughly the same numbers in the low 4s. So let's just round it down to 4, average 4 people per property. Wow. And that's been pretty stable. Dubai's been healthy and maintained.
Is that like, are we talking, it could be friends living, family, just the average person?
Friends, family, people sharing. Okay. We both back down blue-collar workers and labour camps. So to really give what the actual working population is, those that are going to absorb the properties that have been launched. So those numbers, right? If the average household size is 4 and 50,000 is coming on, that's 200,000 people to occupy those. Last year we had 104,000. 3% growth rate in population is a strong number. Doubling it, that's going to be challenging. Not impossible, but challenging. So just looking at those basic numbers, it starts to be all right.
Do you know my challenge with it, by the way, Zhann? This is where I see it. And again, this is where we're probably going to clash the swords a little bit.
Good.
So obviously, I've just come back from the Atlantis Royale today. So I have a apartment there, as we've discussed off.
Just a little one, right?
Just a little one. Just incredible fireworks there, by the way. And when I went there, it's so interesting to see the dynamics of different places. This place right now, right this second, is dead because people are using it as a lock up and leave. And what you'll find is that same seasonality in December, it'll be busy. Maybe just before the summer, it's busy, but right now it's empty. When you talk about these branded residences, I've seen some crazy ones. I've seen Bugatti. You're talking, 20 million purchase price minimum. You're then going into Como, 65 million for a 4-bed there in the Palm. These places, I can imagine, I've seen Frank Muller and Mercedes. No one's going to be living there at that level. I think this is where you're going to see people from the US, Spain, France, wherever, drop in, and drop out.
So I think you're right with that. Out of those units that come on, maybe let's say it's 80-20. 20% of them, long-term residents. The rest, pied-à-terres, holiday homes, whatever you will. But if we add all those units up that fall into that, it's a very small portion of that 50,000 units.
Yeah.
It's maybe, let's give it 20% of that, right? So now we're still looking at a significant amount, right, that we need to see, and drop that number 4 down to 3, which I don't think it is, because if you look at schools right now, what are we seeing with schools? Record enrollment numbers.
Wild.
Further supports larger household size. So it's not that we're likely to see that 4 come down. If anything, it could go up or just stay pretty static at that. So at some point, we are going to have this one I call it a problem. We're going to have something we need to address where there probably is going to be excess supply starting to come into the market. I won't go hyper supply, but I'll go excess supply, which for most people is going to be welcome.
It takes the pressure off the price increases.
So you're going to see a little bit of downward pressure both on sales and rents.
Yeah.
So you're going to see, if you looked at the ready right now, completed properties, most of those big communities, the villa communities, they had their big jumps up. Some of them have gone on to appreciate more than double, right? You've got Jumeirah.
Mine's nearly tripled. I don't want to sound like a big head or anything.
Stop.
I know, but the reason I say it is I couldn't afford to buy that. Honestly, if you went back 2 years ago and you offered me that, I would have laughed at you and be like, there's not a chance. So I think the reason I'm telling that my property's tripled is because I think if you look at the standard person, their wages have not tripled.
No.
So there has to be some give somewhere. And I think this is where interest rates come into play.
Yeah.
And then obviously affordability. So I'm 100% with if there is an excess lag of properties, it will take the pressure off tenants, which is what's needed.
Yeah, it's needed. It's needed for tenants, it's needed for buyers, right? I was in the market right around the bottom of the market when it turned.
Yeah.
And I lost out in the place that I was living in to another friend of ours who's the industry, and that's gone on to more than double in its value now.
You're still friends?
Yeah.
Sort of.
There's no hard feelings with it. I dug my heels in.
It
Right?
doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like there's no hard
I
feelings.
just take a gentle ribbing with it. But everyone has to remember, the markets are cyclical.
Yeah.
We have highs and lows, and what tips almost every single market over is supply, right? A supply and demand imbalance.
Do you know the thing though, Zhann?
Yeah.
And again, forgive me for jumping in, but I want people to hear this from my point of view and yours. The only reason 214 happened is because of the loan to value was decreased and they doubled the transfer fees. So at that point, and this is the question that I ask. People talk about this cycle. I was on a panel recently talking about, I said, actually, has there been a cycle, or are we talking about a forced downward pressure from the government to not create a bubble?
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right? When I speak about that last market cycle, the upward phase went for 24 months. And because of, let's call them government circuit breakers that were put in, it stalled the market, it slowed the market, it pushed it into a downward phase. But the interesting part, again, if we look at the cycle, right, at the top, it stopped it. Prices started to plateau a bit, took some of that. We got out of potentially going to bubble territory. Now, developers at that point should have slowed down. They didn't. They kept going. They kept going, and they kept going. And what we ended up having was a 6-year, almost 7-year downturn, largely driven by supply and the wrong supply being built and coming into the market. There are other things that came in there as well, but 100% agree. I think that 24 months that it was going up, it hadn't would have run.
So the pivotal thing for me when we talk about COVID lockdown, when the prices went up, it's nothing at all to do with people leaving their house. Now, there's something happened in lockdown that people didn't actually see in the news. Loan to values were increased by 5%. And it was the most stealth news that no one talked about, but that gave people the ability to go on and confidently buy. And I said this to anybody, if you ask everybody, all our family members, we put them all in a room and said, I'll tell you what, if you're renting, we'll give you 100% mortgage today, everyone will say yes. So if we can open them doors and turn tenants into buyers, that's the health of the Dubai property market.
That's the biggest thing. The more people we can turn from tenants into property owners will mature this market. You'll get people, when people own something, they treat it differently. Like, oh, look, I'm a great tenant, treat it like I'm owning it. Others,
landlords listening to this.
well, landlord's really good. But no, seriously, I do. I just wish I'd bought it. But when people buy, they start to treat things differently. The community really becomes a community to them. If it's the building, if it's the villa community they're in, they invest back into it if it's subconsciously. And we need more of that. Right? There's some big communities that are coming up this year. Right?
What are the biggest ones last year?
Well, last year we had the first part of the Oasis.
Yeah.
Right? So the Oasis, villa community, much needed. What have we got coming up now? So you've got Tel Al Gaff. Well, Tel Al Gaff finishing up, seeing handovers right now. Their last couple of areas being filled in. A couple more launches to go there. They have another master community coming up. I will leave that announcement for them. Yep. That's coming up. Where the Oasis is, Emaar has now acquired additional land behind that. Yeah, not as large as the Oasis, but pretty sizable, another master community coming in there. The Acres. Morass has taken over what was originally going to be, I think it was the Plantation Polo and Equestrian Club. Behind, Ranches 2. That's coming up. Beautiful villa community that's going in there. And then there's Eden Hills, which in Dubai Hills, sort of below part of that. H&H is bringing that online there.
What, are they all 3 years away?
Yeah, you're looking at 3 to 5 before we're going to see anything there.
But it's needed. This is my opinion. All these things, when people talk about Dubai, there's a thing about the Al Qudra Road. If you go 8 years ago, I'm not sure about town square. It's a bit far away. Now they're building these communities. What is it far away from? It's a bit like Palm Jebal Ali. Is it Dubai South or Emaar South, which is next to Palm Jebal Ali?
So you've got, technically it's all Dubai South, and then you've got Emaar South at the bottom part.
So let's say that area there.
Yeah.
Right this second, people say that's far away.
Yep.
The minute Palm Jebal Ali hands over, it could be 3 to 5 years away, you are now in the epicenter of what that needs to be. So these micro communities are going to come.
And there is a massive land bank right below that. In Palm, that is going to be one of the areas to watch.
Yeah.
Right? You've got that whole area there, which could be another marina. Look at it, right? I mean, look at the map. You can see the potential that's there. Half of the first 6 fronts have been launched. They've done incredibly well. The others, I'm sure, are going to come throughout the year. But that area, huge developments going along there. You've got these much needed master communities finally being built. And then the rest, you're seeing fill in the gaps.
Do you think Palm Jebal Ali just dot subject is a good option for an investor?
Depends on what the strategy is. If it's buy and hold, yeah.
I agree.
If you're looking to buy it now and flip it next year, no.
We just sold last week a garden home, really high number for 36 million. Which to some people, they go, whoa, that's crazy. Go and buy a garden home now on the Palm Jumeirah, a really high number, you're talking 60 million.
Yeah.
So I think if somebody's got that strategy and they're willing to sit on the infrastructure and let that happen, it's very hard not to make money if they follow through what they're selling.
It's rare you go wrong with buying property on the water, right? Holding it long term. The longer you hold it, the more you can. And as long as you can hold it, and you can weather the market, right? The market is going to go down. Properties are going to decrease in value at some point, but they're going to go up again.
Yep.
Right? If you can weather through that storm, you're probably seeing a really good investment.
My house I lived in before the one that I bought, I lived in a place called Victory Heights. So I had a C1, which is a 5-bedroom. I bought that for 5.5 million in 2000, and I'm gonna say 2013, maybe 14. At the height, it went up to about 8.5 million. I had it 3 or 4 years. It went down to 4.5 million, maybe 4 million. And people, you need to sell it. And I just said, look, I live in it. I don't give a shit. It's irrelevant to me. When I make my life choice, I'll do what I've got to do. Now, for me, my repayments to the bank were the same. So people were talking so much about what the house is worth. And when you own a house, you just don't care.
You know when it matters how much it's worth? When you buy it and where you sell it. And if you're going to refinance, right? But when you buy and when you sell.
That's it.
So whenever people ask me, is it a good time to buy? The answer is always, it depends. Are you buying for end use? 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be, if you can afford it now and you've got a buffer to afford it if certain things happen in the future, buy it. It's probably better than renting.
This is why flipping doesn't work for me. I think trying to buy money, make money, keep it. Unless you keep doing that, long-term real estate is the only way I've really made money. Honestly, it's the only way.
You can make money buying and flipping. There's risk with it.
Yeah.
And there's more risk with that. And everyone's trying to do it, right? Buying off-plan and flipping is probably one of the riskiest ones, especially if you're buying after a really long stretch of appreciation. You start to end up buying at the top. But again, you want to buy that and to short-term horizon, know the risks that are there. If you can hold it long term, then you've mitigated some of those risks.
I mean, the super wealthy and the people that I've seen really make the money, where they make their money, and this is important for anybody trying to make money. You don't make money by putting £10,000 to shares and doubling and making 20. That doesn't really work. The real money is in leverage. So leverage can be a payment plan. So for instance, if you put 10% down on buying a property on the Palm Jebal Ali, and that premium is 10%, you double your money. Mm-hmm. Now, if Bitcoin doubled in share price, the whole world would be all over it going, Bitcoin's the bulliest market that's ever happened. But if a property investor doubles their deposit, it's just one of them. And that's where you really make money. If you can leverage your down payment, whether that is owning the house and gaining your value on the value at the end, or your down payment towards off plan, that's serious money.
Look, once you buy a property as well and you've got it paid off, now you've got equity in that. You can go out and buy other properties with that and start to grow a portfolio.
Let's get on to data, because me and you could drivel all there, man.
Yeah, we could.
We should do our own podcast, just like the property drivel, where we just talk. The drivel, the Dubai drivel. Okay, so let's look at some stats. 2023, 408 billion sold last year, which is 55% up from 2022.
Some big numbers, right? Yeah.
5%.
I tend to stay away from the value.
Okay.
I like to look at the volume.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm always, because that volume, if you have 100 big ticket transactions, then that market dries up. you've got not a lot left. If you've got diversified across there.
My saying in business is I'd rather sell Fiats than Ferraris.
Oh.
I've always said that because I think that you could lose that big deal. I mean, when you talk about the volume, you could say a Sheikh's bought 2 plots in Jebel Ali for 200 billion. All of a sudden, the numbers become distorted. So we're pretty much the same people,
Yeah,
we're very similar.
We do. For a bit of a contrast when we first met, probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, maybe I've just got kids and matured a bit. Maybe 70% of all transactions are apartments. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. I mean, that's the makeup of the market, right? If you look at the current supply that's there, that's pretty much around those numbers, right? 70-30, 75-25. That's the numbers there. Until villas and townhouses tick up. Yeah. Which it's really hard to do because like we just talked about, you have to have master community storming. There's only a few developers that can do that. And you're putting, 5,000 units into the market from a big master community? Yeah. How easy is it to do that with 5 apartment buildings?
I talk about master communities. If I was a property owner, buying in a master community is by far the best type of investment you can make because you're buying into the community. I've seen many places that have got plots, or let's say Sports City. Yep. Sports City, you go in there and there's just towers everywhere. And you're just like, where are the paths? Where are the streets?
That infrastructure is always one of the last things they put in. Most of the time, the master developer in those where they're not developing it all themselves, it's the last thing. They're looking for the individual owners of those plots to start putting out or share the cost with it. And things change over time, right?
That's what offers you a plot around to the money. And you got a park there, you're just like, okay, well, I've got no loyalty to the community, so I'm out. Okay, so 51% of market sales were done off plan. Is that right?
It's probably a little bit more.
Okay.
And this comes to one of the first intricacies with the data. Yeah. Right? Because there's 2 registration types, right? You buy off plan, you're getting an accrued. Yep. If you're buying a completed property that's got a BCC, you're getting a title deed. If you're buying land, you're getting a title deed. There's an intricacy within the land department data where some of the villa and townhouse sales were recorded with title deeds when they were actually accrueds. So what we want to do is we take a deeper look at that data and go, what was the status of that property at the time it transferred, and forget title deed or accrued. It takes that 51 probably to the high 58, 59 sort of mark. Yeah. Okay. We're getting back to that 60-40 split that the buy historically had.
Yeah. Okay. So the unit transactions, JBC was the #1 transacted area.
Yeah, no surprise. No surprise. I mean, and JBC...
Someone said to me before, they were talking about JBC, and one of our best agents companies, a guy called Ryan Vaticus. So he lives there, he's got 2 kids, he's brought up a family there, he's got a 3rd kid on the way. I want to slow down a bit. He meets the fourth person criteria at that point.
See?
And I was talking about the market, and I said, when we're talking about JBC, without him saying anything, my theory was this. JBC years ago was maybe out of the way because of the infrastructure and where it was. Right this second, you're on Alkel Road, you get access everywhere, you've got your villas, your apartments. It's actually now a central location.
Yeah, it is relatively central, and there you've got another mall that's going to be opening here as well. But JBC itself, it's a huge community. I haven't run the numbers recently, but the last time we did, it's only about 2/3 developed.
Wild.
Right? So imagine how much more is to come. Most launches that took place last year on a launch basis, not number of units, JBC.
If you were offered a place today in Mira or JBC for location, where would you go?
Ooh. Am I living there?
You're living there.
If I'm living there, it'd probably be Mira.
Really?
Yeah.
For what? Because of the community?
Community.
But for the location?
Yeah, if you get a similar feel and location there, 100%. Look, my head of sales, he is so bullish on Jumeirah, on Emirates living.
Really?
Right? And one of his biggest thing is because of the location. He's like, I'm happy to buy something that is old, dated, do the work to it, but you can't get that close anymore.
See it. So we sold Springs Villa, a 3-bedroom for 6.5 million. Fully renovated, right, ripped apart, put together. And I was talking to him about it before. They were talking about the Springs. I said, look, the Springs on the outside look like shit. They do. But with a bit of paint and a bit of renovation to how the windows are and you can create a really, really nice house. And the community is already there. The location is there. The parks are there. But you've got to have a bit of vision to be able to do that.
They've got good bones, but you've got to have that vision and go in there. Yeah. What's really going to be interesting, one day, Jebel Ali Racecourse. Yeah. Right. That is a prime. Yeah. So right behind, you've got there. Hesse Street is the sort of the evil to it, but that's getting fixed, right? But that land is prime land.
Yeah.
That's going to be another.
That's got to be local owned land, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there are plans, I think, eventually to develop it. For me, it's going to be your next sort of Emirates Hills.
Yeah.
It's going to have that sort of
Super
cachet
periphery.
to it. Maybe on the periphery, it's going to have some less expensive, but in the smack bang, in most part, the race course, I think, will stay.
So 2007, I remember pitching to, there's these projects in TCOM, and I was telling people, look, this is the number one camel community, race camel. It's going to be a place where everybody's going to be, everyone's like, this sounds incredible. Like, you're telling me this is owned by the sheikhs, this land, and I'm looking over the camels. I'm like, it's just wild how far Dubai has come from like where it is to where it is today.
And it's just, it's going to keep going. When you look now, if you grab a satellite map, take a look at Dubai 2 years ago and take a look now, the gaps getting filled in.
Yeah.
Right? You're looking at all these master communities where gaps are being filled in. Right? Zhann. Right. Huge amount of development going on there now. Marjan, very confused. Lots going on there as well. Falcon City of Wonders is coming back online. Dubai residential complex, that's all coming back online. People are buying there, they're building there. You've had Aldar come into the market with some really big plots that they've got with their JV with Dubai Holdings.
Aldar, don't they?
And they're filling in some of these big locations. The next big one to look at, Dubai Hills, right below that.
Really?
That is a huge piece of land. It's under the Dubai Holdings banner. Who it ends up going to is going to be really, really interesting. But that's
go to Miras or someone.
No, I mean, look. So when I say under the Dubai Holding banner, half the land is right.
Yeah.
But that corridor, that section there. So the latest launch, so you had Dubai Hills.
Yeah.
And then you've got Eden Hills going in, which is a relatively small section. And then you've got the RTA works that have been announced, which will start with the extension of that road through there. You've probably got 1.5 times at least the size of Dubai Hills estate that's left to be developed in there.
Do you think that could affect the price of Dubai Hills? Or
no. Well, it depends. It could.
If it mass volumes at the same products.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see it go to a developer that's going to have very staged, well thought out launches, get the product mix right. I mean, look at Emaar and Dubai Hills. They've pivoted in a couple of areas, right? They put in those at the address villas where that was meant to be a park and some other amenities. And they pivoted, put those in there and moved some things around. Those areas are going to go to developers that know what they're doing. It's going to be phased in over the long term. And it's not going to be the ones that really drives that supply-demand imbalance.
Okay, so 10 million dirham sales, $10 million sales last year, 70 units on the Palm Jebal, 30 Palm Jebal Ali, 37, MBR 28, Emirates Hills 26, JGE 26. We are the number one now in the world for $10 million sales. Is that right? Or we're there or thereabouts.
Oh, we're in the same league. I haven't looked at the numbers from all over the world, and I think some of the consultants' reports that you see define prime markets, which could omit by their definition. Right? I don't like to define them as narrowly as some do.
Yeah.
So if we were to talk those key markets, right? Give me a couple. Palm Jumeirah, sure. Emirates Hills. Where else? Jumeirah Bay.
At the edges, Islands. Even JGE, to be honest with you, you're not really getting many villas. This is the thing that I was looking at. If you look at London, so I got a place in London that I use all the way back, and find me actually many $10 million apartments, because what you find in London is the square footage is obviously a lot lower.
Yeah.
You're buying the square footage. So trying to find a unit that's 5,000 square feet in London that's actually for sale, there's not going to be a lot. So it's just like, it's not unheard of for the Palm Jumeirah with the big villas and the MBRs and the JGEs to hold the record because they have more square footage.
Yeah, so adding into if we were to define it, we'd probably go further than what some of the consultants do. Because we put in JGE, we put in Al Al Gaf, right? You've got 90, 100, 150 million villas there. I'm pretty sure that falls into that luxury and prime categories.
Yeah.
You've got these additional ones that just aren't by such narrow definition. I have one report that said there were only going to be 8 handovers of prime villas next year.
8?
Yeah, well, it was for 2023. I'm like, no, it wasn't yours. And I'm like, well, let's just look at their definition of what they're putting it in, because it was significantly more that came to market and handed over. So I mean, it comes to the definition. But yeah, we're up in that big league with New York, with Hong Kong.
Do you think Dubai is now sitting in that category? When people say you can't class Dubai as Paris, New York?
So I'm in that camp that it's very hard to do apples to apples comparisons with any major city, right? Because they're all different. Right? London to Paris, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? But Dubai to it's completely different market. You can compare the price points, the quality of the product. Can you compare affordability? Well, then it's also relative for the whole market. Right? How much is skewed towards one end versus the other? And there are some people that will never buy here because they will only buy in those markets.
Yep.
Because it's where they live, it's what they know, or they're established markets, or this area just isn't for them. So it's really hard to do the comparison. But look, I think you've seen enough people migrate in where they see the benefit over where they've been.
Okay, let's wrap it up with this. I want to finish off on the commercial market.
Yep.
Commercial, everyone talks about residential. Where are the commercial launches? What's going on?
It's a very good question. And we're about to write a piece on this. Commercial around the world is in the toilet right now. Right, the office market, the default cycle you're going to see with the commercial market in the US is going to be crippling more than likely. Everywhere else, especially after COVID, work from home, less people in the office, offices not getting used as much. Dubai's completely bucked that trend. Yes, we work from home for a bit, but business registrations went up. We had more coming in. DMCC probably needs to build more because they've had so many registrations for companies. There aren't the project launches happening that should be. Look at the area we're in right now. Right? You're in one of the very few commercial towers here. This area is originally meant for several more commercial towers around here. This should be one of the next business districts. Same with Dubai Hills, this area there for another business district. This is also what we want to see long term. We don't want everyone commuting to downtown, to Business Bay, to the marina. Right? That shouldn't be the long-term plan. And that also changes the residential communities where, well, Town Square is not that far away if you're coming to your office in Motor City. But if you're driving to Business Bay, it's a bit of a trek.
I do it every other day. And I can tell you now, my thought...
What, from Town Square to Business Bay?
No. From JGE to Business Bay. And my thought process is there's not enough thought gone into, and there isn't enough thought from developers that commercial is going to be, by far, the best investment for any investor in Dubai that's willing to take a unit and sit on it, because the pressure on people renting and the pressure on the prices, you can see it. I mean, the unit we bought this floor, this one we're in now, 6 months, a year ago. We were actually renting this floor, and then we said, look, we want to buy it. So we ended up buying it, and it's gone up 35-40% in 6 months from what else is trading in the market, because it's all been sucked out. And now I was like, oh my God, where do you get these? And people putting their new price on, and they're paying it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of desperate business owners that don't want to get caught up in the trap of we're going to triple your rent once you vacate the property.
Yeah. And then, look, there needs to be more construction for it. Or then there also needs to be, even if it's not helped build to sell, even just that build to rent, institutional landlords building more buildings, you only see those in the locally owned areas pretty much. Everything else is strata, right? Individual title deeds that, look, it's great to benefit from, but you want more of that. Look at other markets around the world. They've got big institutional landlords that own those. It's also, I think, that's something Dubai needs to do to drive foreign investment. Pensions funds, what do they want to invest in? They love commercial real estate. They love a well-tenanted residential or commercial building, as opposed to the residential side of it. Now, there's definitely a need for it. Who's going to be a developer that sort of jumps into that arena? I'm really looking forward to seeing it, because all we're seeing now, the only one that's probably put anywhere near measurable, and it's not substantial, but measurable office space into the upcoming supply has been Guardian. Yeah. Because they're putting in in some of their buildings. Yeah. There's a couple of floors, right? 3, 4, maybe 5 floors where they're putting in office space and thinking about it.
Not enough for the whole of Dubai. Well, thank you very much for coming down. I'd love to do it again, getting insights. I think this will be one of the longest podcasts we've done. But whilst I'm listening to it, I was just thinking, like, anybody that's interested in real estate, there's so much information taken on it. So thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure. Look forward to being back.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.